Welcome back to the Wrong Advice Podcast. I'm John Picciuto. I'm joined by the one and only Mr. Eric Koslow, owner of Dream Fitness Englewood. Eric, how you doing, my friend?
I am great. I haven't been introduced as the one and only, but I guess
I'm thinking you probably
am
are.
the one and only.
I think there's a good shot that you may be the only one.
Very true.
Can you give a quick introduction to the listeners to who you are?
Yeah, sure. So I own a gym. It's a semi-private personal training gym. So what we do is kind of unique in that rather than a membership where you walk in and you're left to your own devices, everyone gets a trainer. Everyone is trained via membership rather than a one-on-one membership. We also do one-on-ones. It's great, but it makes it attainable for a lot more people.
Mm-hmm. How did you get into the gym business? Like when did you open the gym? When did you start your journey as a...
Oh, you're going right in.
Yeah.
So when COVID hit, I actually owned a dry cleaning business.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, so nobody got dressed anymore. COVID killed the dry cleaning business. We hung on for a couple of more years, but I knew that I needed to do something else. I was training people in garages, in their gyms, in their homes forever, since I'm in college. And we're going to get to age because I always listen to your podcast and you're making yourself sound older than you are because I'm older than you are. But in any case, it's always been my passion. COVID hit. I had just turned 50, which I think,
you look so much better than I did for my age.
Had something to do with it, but that's because I train every day.
Fair, yeah.
But I started training myself in my garage with my kids, and it was very humbling because as much as I had trained other people everywhere for decades, I was in the worst shape of my life.
Was that a response to COVID? Or
No, had nothing to do with COVID.
Oh, interesting.
Had nothing to do with COVID. I had just spent too much time working, and if we're going to be honest, drinking.
Same. And
woke up one day and said, you know what, I have to get in shape. And
what was that moment? Where were you? Like, do you distinctly remember? Like,
yeah, I do. I had been very sick in December. COVID hit in March.
I was sick with the same thing.
I insist that before like COVID became a national, international phenomenon, that I already had COVID.
Same. Although I didn't test for the antibodies.
I didn't test either because I didn't need to.
Yeah.
Once I started working out for 4 years, I didn't have so much as a sniffle. I never needed to test for COVID. Yes, knock on wood. And I attribute that to working out.
Eating well.
Cutting out alcohol. Lowering carb and sugar intake. And I've never felt better. I went through my 30s, which I know you're in your 30s.
Hanging on.
Thinking like, I'm fucking old. This is awful. Like, how am I going to... People live to 80, 90, 100 years old. I had 3 grandparents not that long ago. 95, 96, and 100 before they passed away. Okay?
Same.
I couldn't imagine I have to go another 50, 60 years in this body and feel like this every day. But I just thought that was normal.
Yeah.
Because I was working 6 and 7 days a week. I was working 12, 15-hour days, commuting an hour each way, and then you come home and try and spend a little time
doing
with family,
something. Yep.
Which, if I had it all to do over again, I would spend 15 hours with family and work for an hour or two. But
totally agree.
That wasn't the...
Go back to the moment when you were like, I need to make a change.
Yeah, for sure. So after what I deemed as my COVID, I said, I have to get in shape.
Yeah.
My birthday was the 13th of January after that sick spell in December. And I said, now's the time to start.
And were you like heavy? Were you like overweight?
I was 205 pounds at 5'8". So
yeah.
I was heavy.
Yeah.
I didn't feel great. I didn't look great. I said, best way I know to lose weight initially is to do some running.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Went from my front door to the stop sign. It was less than 100 yards. It was embarrassing. I was glad that it was like 5:30 in the morning and my neighbors were still sleeping and my kids don't wake up early. And literally, I jogged to the stop sign. I had to walk back. I was like, now, listen, I've been an athlete my entire life.
Yeah.
It was humbling to say the least.
Yeah.
My kids, now March comes, everything is starting to lock down. We have some old weights in the garage. I start training them. They're like, Dad, work out with us. I'm like, no, guys, let me just train you. That's what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I started working them out because I wouldn't lift weights in front of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because like you were like worried about
I was out of shape.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
I was out of shape, and like my teenage sons can't be stronger than me.
Yeah, I get that.
I have pride too. So I literally did not want to work out in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
Needless to say, that run to the stop sign became a run around the block. They would go to sleep. I started lifting weights the way that I knew that I could lift weights.
Mm-hmm.
That became 3 days a week, became 5 days a week, became, you know what? Dry cleaning business is awful. No one is going into the office. I need to do something. I'm going to look for a location. I wanted a smaller location because the big gyms, the 30,000 square foot box gyms, they were going out of business because now
you couldn't
no
go.
one wanted to. Well, not only did no one want to go, they weren't allowed to go.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they're freezing memberships, and some of them were like, well, we have to keep charging you. And people were like, fuck that. I can't even go to work.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pay
Yeah.
my membership, freeze my membership. And, it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Literally. And I said, people just don't even want to be around people.
Mm-hmm.
But in my mind, people are going to want to be healthy
Mm-hmm.
when they come out of this.
Especially when like the world is, everyone's sick, right?
Yes.
So like, it's funny because I feel like two things happened during COVID. Like you either were on like easy street, nothing really changed. You worked from home, everything was normal, or you had like a gigantic life shift. At least for me, that's what happened.
Yes.
I feel like it was either one or the other.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I also didn't get, it took me like a year or two after COVID to like realize I wasn't happy with my body. Like I actually just went to the doctor yesterday to do my yearly physical and everything. And he was like, oh, wow, like, your drop from 2020 to 2021 was like very significant. He was like, it's good to see that you maintained that loss. And I was home, I was drinking 5 days a week. I didn't do anything.
What else was there to do?
There was nothing to do.
Mm-hmm.
We were doing wine parties and fucking, it was crazy.
Netflix was awesome.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah. But, so I'm curious, having been a business owner already with the laundromat,
Mm-hmm.
there was no fear in opening up your own gym or a whole new business when the entire world was sort of like shut down?
I'll give you another story that'll explain the lack of fear.
Cool.
Okay. In 2015, the shopping plaza that my dry cleaner was located in had a fire.
Mm-hmm.
About 3 doors down. Okay. I get a phone call from a buddy of mine who lives in the area. I live about 45 minutes away from where the dry cleaner was located. And he was like, you got to get here, man. You got to get here. The building is on fire. And I said, did you call 911? And he was like, how could you be so calm? I said, because I can't put the fire out.
Yeah, right.
What do you want me to do? He said, I want you to get here. I said, okay, I'm about 45 minutes away.
Mm-hmm.
I was just about to get in the shower. I'll see you in about an hour. Relax. He was more upset than I was.
Yeah.
I get to the location and I'm looking and it's snow and ice on the ground. And the fire, like I said, was at the time 3 doors down, but now it's 1 door down. And there's smoke wafting into the dry cleaners. And I'm thinking like, if the fire continues, well, I have insurance. It'll cover this. If it doesn't, we're going to have to do this. I'm
Planning.
calm and thinking.
Mm-hmm.
All of my neighbors, there's, I don't know, 6 or 8 other stores, they're in tears, and I understand. It was their livelihood. It was, you have a business now. It's your passion,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So they're all in a panic, and I'm really contemplating what my next move has to be and all of my ifs and thens. So for me, opening another business during COVID was the same thought process. Like, I'm going to be calm. And it was if it takes this long, I'm okay. If it goes longer than that, like, things are going to struggle. The first couple of years of business are always rough.
Bad.
Anyway, I'm prepared for that. Like, I'm okay to get from here to there.
Mm-hmm.
I had planned on, I'm going to have to sell my house. Like, things just changed.
Yeah. Well, you're coming from an extremely pragmatic place, because the initial shock of everything that's going on is like, okay, well, I have no choice but to figure it out right now. And then you can sort of enter that planning stage of like, this is what I'm going to do and this is how I'm going to do it. Seems like you clearly had, whether it was growing up or college experiences or whatever. That
fucked up shit forces you to be pragmatic.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was going to get. It's an extremely pragmatic approach to life. Mm-hmm. I've gotten there now. I can't say I would have been there in my 20s, but, clearly you were, 40-something in 15, 40?
Yes.
So, like, you have had a life experience. Mm-hmm. I'm similarly in that place now. Like, I experienced the last 4 years, and, like, now I know whatever fucking life throws at me, I can handle. There are good days, bad days, good weeks, bad weeks.
Of course.
But, like, I know how to handle my shit. What was it, like, pre-2015 that allowed you to get to the place where you could, like, handle your shit?
I think, like you, I had a very good supporting cast. Mm-hmm. My family and everyone around me, always solid. Mm-hmm. But I also think that we go through ups and downs. The gym always grounded me. Mm-hmm. So through all of my downs, I would join a new gym. Mm-hmm. I would get in the best shape of my life, and that was my way to distract, recenter, from whatever else might be going on. And I knew that was always something that I could control.
Yeah.
And I think, listen, we live in a world filled with anxiety and depression and self-medicating. And I'm not going to say that the gym is not a form of self-medicating.
It definitely is, yeah.
But
it's a healthy version of it.
It's a healthy version. Exactly.
Yeah.
Listen, I mean, there's vodka on one side, and there's the gym on the other.
Personally, it's like wine or bourbon, but to each their own. Yeah.
To each their own.
Yeah. I mean, there's obviously a slight, it's not huge, but there's a slight healthier impact of maybe spending an hour a day in the gym than like an hour in the evening drinking a bottle of wine. But it's like small health benefits, I would imagine. Small.
You're being sarcastic. That's fine.
Yeah.
Small.
Yeah.
But for sure. So for me, that always grounded me. It was always my place where I knew that from the beginning of the workout to the end of the workout, I was going to feel better at the end of the workout.
Did you have that connection with fitness as like a kid, like high school, college?
Always.
Okay. So it was always a part of like...
Always. So that started in high school. And, we all go through our trials and tribulations in high school. Mm-hmm. Same thing. Fucked up shit would happen in high school. Bad day. Go to the gym, take it out. By the time I got home, nobody knew that I had a bad day.
Yeah, I like that. It's funny because, like, so I played football in high school. I played lacrosse. Like, I played sports. I was good. Like, we had good teams. We won championships and stuff. I never had that relationship with the gym. The gym always was and always will be a place that I go to prevent death. Mm-hmm. Less so, like, because I enjoy it. And that's not to say, like, there are moments when you're working out, it feels good.
As a trainer, I know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so the majority of people in the gym are there because they're trying to offset a bad habit.
Yes.
Right? They like to go out and indulge, whatever their indulgence might be. So if they're not in the gym, they're going to wind up being 300, 400, 500 pounds. Mm-hmm. And
Then what?
in poor health,
Right.
right? So they're just going to the gym for aesthetic slash health goals.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
Everyone isn't trying to be a competitive bodybuilder.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is not trying to run a 5 or 6 minute mile. Everyone is not trying to look a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
right? But everyone is in the gym to, at the very least, be healthier.
There's obviously a strong correlation between mental and physical health.
Mhm.
What like percentage of say like your training sessions and like your process as a trainer is incorporating mental,
Depends on the person and depends on the day.
got it, okay.
And I think, listen, we all think that we're good at what we do. I feel like I'm a really good personal trainer.
Mm-hmm.
I would say 80% of my job, if you want percentages, is being able to read people.
Mm-hmm. And the mood they're in and
Yes, and when to push and when to back off.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have someone that it doesn't matter what they even do today, it's just a win for them to be here,
yeah.
is just allowing them that space to do their thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And whatever, you don't have to know what the reason is. Sometimes you can just tell someone's going through it.
Yeah.
And today isn't the day to say, you know what, you can use 20-pound dumbbells instead of 15-pound dumbbells. I know you're stronger than that. I'm just happy you're here and you picked up the 15-pound dumbbells. And
That's
leave it at that and not say a word.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just sort of a look that you'll get like, I know I can do more, but today's not the day I want to push myself. I'm just happy to be here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's an important mindset, right? Because like if you can't read the person you're training and what their appetite is for the workout that day,
Mm-hmm.
You're probably not going to be able to retain clients,
No.
right? Yeah.
Of course. And it's, I think it becomes bigger than business. You have to know what someone is there for.
Mm-hmm.
Are they there because they just have aesthetic goals? Are they there because they're training for a particular event?
Mm-hmm.
Are they going through something in life, whether it's a divorce, separation, milestone, birthday, whatever the case may be? Sometimes it's just that mental shift, and you'll see people go from going through the motions to, you know what, I'm really dialed in, help me get to the next level.
Yeah. What is that feeling like as a trainer? Because I would imagine there's like sort of a payoff, right?
I mean, it's the reason that I spend 6 or 7 days a week in the gym and make shit money most of the time. It's amazing.
Yeah.
You're making a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you mentioned, how many downloads on your podcast? How many people do you get to touch their lives and have impact on them?
Yeah, and this is a great example of $0 return. So like
yeah. So you understand.
Yeah, it's funny because like I had one of those big shifts during COVID, right? Like I was working in corporate America, I got laid off, depression, anxiety, like my world fell apart, right? It took me finding photography and to some degree this podcast to like the things that I love to like reshape my mindset of like what I want out of life, let alone just like a career and like a day-to-day thing. And you mentioned the family thing too, because that plays a big part of it as well. It's unfortunate that it usually takes some huge life event to like reshape your mindset. Yeah, to wake us up. But like it's a blessing. It's a blessing and a curse because it takes so long. And like I'm sure you've heard I say all the time, like could 25-year-old John have learned 35-year-old John's lessons? I typically lean towards the no part of it. I think it takes the life experience to get there. But it is one of those things where it's like once you get that wake up call, it is your moment and your opportunity to seize on that moment and take things in a new direction. As a person who works with people on a daily basis, I would imagine there are some people who take that opportunity and rise to the occasion and go to the next level, and some people who don't. Is there anything that you notice in your capacity that is an indicator as to like why a person may elevate or maybe not?
I wish I could figure that out.
Yeah.
There is no cookie cutter mold that this person is going to do X and this person is going to do Y. I just feel like if I keep my door open and I pour into them, that I've done everything on my side to give them the opportunity to handle their adversity how they decide to handle it. Listen, some people climb over adversity, and some people crumble underneath it.
Yeah.
right? And it could be a brother and sister in the same house with the same environment, same upbringing. Adversity comes, one crumbles, and one uses it as, you know what, nothing is going to stop me.
Yeah.
So I don't think that there is any rhyme or reason. It's a very individual thing.
I am marveled and amazed and intrigued by the psychology of people, like why the person who hits that midlife crisis point chooses to change their career and open up a gym, or enter a career in photography and start a podcast. Like why people do that versus like, oh, I'll just like keep doing the 9 to 5 thing. I find it fascinating to figure out why people either do rise or crumble to those challenges in life. And I completely agree. Like, I don't think there's a rhyme or reason. I think you can wake up every day and be thankful for your opportunities and make the most of them, or you could just be like going through the motions. And it's just like, very fascinating to me because like I sort of didn't have a choice, right? Like I had to make a decision. I was either conscious or unconscious that like my life wasn't going the way that I wanted it to, and I needed to make a change.
Right.
And I'm very thankful for that. Some people don't make that change, and it fascinates me because I don't know how you could possibly go along living an unhappy or unfulfilled life and maintaining.
Because people are very comfortable.
Yeah.
And
comfortable in their uncomfortableness.
Yes. They're comfortable with being slightly unhappy. I'm kind of happy today, unhappy tomorrow. I do certain things that make me happy, and they'll plan a vacation or a trip or a dinner or whatever makes them happy for the moment. And that's how they justify a miserable existence, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, let's call a spade a spade. I didn't just quit the dry cleaning business because things were great and I said, you know what, I want to follow my passion. Just like you didn't quit your corporate job. Like, things were thrust upon us.
Yeah.
And both of us have the mentality like, okay, well, fuck it. We're not going to crumble, so we're going to figure this shit out.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's why most people don't make that change, is because it's hard.
Yeah.
And when you're comfortable, even though it's not great, you're comfortable. And we live in kind of a soft society.
Very much so.
Okay? And at some point, if someone doesn't have that adversity, more likely than not, they're not going to change.
Yeah. So it does typically take a big tipping point. I don't know if you've read the book by Malcolm Gladwell, but yeah, it usually takes that one extra little bit to...
Well, we're outliers. Right?
Yeah, I like to think so. I like to think so. Talk to me about the first couple of years of opening a business. Obviously, during COVID, you find space. You wanted a little bit smaller space than like a traditional cookie cutter box store.
It was tough. I mean, we've evolved like 25 different times since then.
Mm-hmm.
When I put the equipment in the gym, I literally didn't know what our business model was. I just knew that I'm going to equip it in a way that we're going to figure it out. I didn't know if it was going to be a guy's bodybuilding type gym.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know if it was going to be more female friendly. I didn't know if it was going to be class based.
Mm-hmm.
So we opened it in a way that we could pivot.
Yeah.
And I mean, thankfully we did. Thankfully that worked.
How long did it take you to figure that out? Like, what'd you say?
Probably the first 2 years.
Yeah. Feeling your way.
Years, but, when we started with classes, it was a great idea. You know what time people are coming. You know how many people are coming. People actually started coming. And now, is this one wearing a mask? Am I too far from that one? And you're dealing with that whole dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a different problem that I hadn't anticipated. And if you're going to be a good business owner, you're going to have to encounter problems and figure out solutions for them. So this is the right advice. Don't open a business if you can't figure things out on the fly, because you literally will have to figure them out on the fly.
Many times over.
that is your sole existence
Yeah.
for the most part.
Yeah, I think I've similarly evolved multiple times throughout my career.
Yeah.
It takes, I think, anyone who does, like, I had 1 year of savings in the bank, like, to like give myself the runway to make it work, and I didn't. I was like broke. Thank God for my family. Like, I would have been on my ass.
Yeah, same.
It took me 2 full years to get to a point where I was like making enough money to like pay all my bills, not go further into debt, like figure it all out. And there are a million people who are go on podcasts or like write books and tell you like this is how it's going to be. But I think until you're like in it and experiencing it, it's like every piece of advice goes out the fucking window.
Yes, and I spoke with a million mentors, and from sales to marketing to systems, and they can give you the roadmap, but you still have to figure out the directions for yourself because it's still individualized.
100%.
And I think that's the part that people don't realize when they go into business.
Mm-hmm.
They think that they're going to open the door, and whether they're selling a service or selling goods, they think they open the door and people just start coming in.
Yeah, right.
And you just hit the register. And as long as you can hit the register enough during the week that at the end of the month everything is taken care of, and then there's some left over for you.
Yeah.
They don't realize that there's a lot of months that, like, fuck, I got to go into my pocket again, make things work to get to then
a month later,
hopefully, better times. And people used to come into the dry cleaners. We had a revolving door of neighbors, a lot of small businesses that would come in and go out, and they would ask, how have you still been here? I said, the secret is you're never as rich as you think that you are, and you're never as poor as you think that you are. You're going to have good months. Don't take good months to Atlantic City.
Yeah. Yeah.
Put good months in the bank, because inevitably it'll average out and you're going to have some bad months.
Yeah. I think financially COVID was probably the best lesson of my life. Like, give yourself a runway. Like, I was always a spender. I was never a saver, very much Sagittarius, like fucking go to Vegas, go to Miami, just always like live paycheck to paycheck, because like it didn't matter. I was always going to get the next paycheck.
Capricorns do that all the time.
Yeah, right. So it's like one of those things where it's like
not traditionally, but this guy.
It was a really valuable lesson, and like I hate that it took like a negative like financial experience to learn it. But like now I'm like very, very safe, very conservative, without going too far into like I don't do anything anymore. But like it you need to learn the lesson of like, okay, maybe take this month where I just destroyed it. Put it away. Don't buy another camera. Yes. Don't buy another piece of gym equipment. Figure it out.
For sure.
Save it. And it's funny because I relate to that very, very strongly.
Yeah, for sure. The big thing becomes what you do with that knowledge, right? So when you have a good month and then you have a bad month and it averages out, how do you start to forecast where your business is going?
Yeah. It's easier years in than it is initially. When you're going through it in the immediacy, it's like, oh, well, I fucked up. I should have spent that $5,000. I should have kept it. That's the hard lesson to learn. And you only do it when you get caught 2-3 times with your, oh, fuck, I got to go, I got to do that again. And I've been there. It's very relatable. It takes, I think like I'm at the 4-year mark now. So I figured out what my average is. I know what my my revenue is going to be X, and when I have a month that's 2 or 3 times that, I know the next month is not going to be that. So you get to the point where it's like, okay, I understand where historically I'm going to be, and I know what I have to keep.
I wish the gym business was that easy to forecast.
Oh yeah, it's not.
People are very fickle. What they're into 1 week or 1 month, and they're focused and dialed in. I can't tell you how many people I've had come through the door, and I finally learned to not take it personally.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They absolutely love the facility, the community, myself, the showers, the turf. They love every single thing about it. And then 2 weeks in, and they ghost you, and you send a text, hey, everything okay? And they don't respond. And I really didn't figure out that it has nothing to do with me
Yeah.
until some people that had ghosted me actually came back.
Mm.
And because I still reach out every so often and kept the door open, they came back, and you find out why they were away. Hey, I went through this, or I went through that, or you know what, I have to stop being lazy, or I have to stop this, or you know what, money was tight, or whatever the reason had nothing to do with
Yeah.
me. Listen, there's probably some people who's like, this guy's a fucking jerk off and doesn't want to come back, and
Yeah.
that's okay, because I
Totally okay.
always say I'm not for everybody.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be for everybody.
Yeah.
But the people that I am really for know that I'm for them 1,000%.
Yeah, I appreciate that. The ghosting analogy, like when it comes to dating relationships, is funny. I like that. Having been ghosted in life and dating and stuff, I love that mentality.
Not you. Come on.
Oh, all the time. We'll talk about that on a different day.
Next podcast.
I was a recruiter for 4 months in 2010, I think. And I learned the best thing in my entire life, and that human beings are the most wildly unreliable on planet Earth. And there's nothing I could do about it. I worked in a firm for 4 months. I got a person a job who had been unemployed for 2 years, from 2008 to 2010. They were unemployed for 2 years. Got her this amazing job, huge bonus, huge all this stuff, like making twice as much money as she was. She didn't show up for work on the first day of work. And she was like, ghosted me, didn't answer me for weeks, and then finally was like, oh, sorry, I decided not to leave my job. And I was like, oh, cool, fuck this. I put in my 2 weeks notice, and I was done. How do you, as not just a business owner, but as a trainer, as a human being, seriously, how do you deal with the unreliability of people?
It's part of my job to explain how discipline is more important than motivation.
Ooh.
You're not going to be motivated every day to go to the gym, to eat right, to do the things that are required to be healthy. Discipline has to take over. Listen, I own a gym. I'm 12% body fat. I'm in really good shape. I'm 54 years old. I feel amazing. I don't feel like working out probably 3 days out of 6. The other 3 days, I'm like, yeah, good, let's do it. But there's 3 days that I'm like, okay, it's time to work out. What do you need? Pre-workout, cup of coffee, like, you got to get this workout in. And I have to talk myself into it. Mm-hmm. So I always think about that when I'm talking to my clients. I don't expect them to work out 6 days a week. Okay, because I'm there every day, I shorten my workouts. I don't suggest that most people work out 6 days a week.
Yeah.
Okay. But because I'm there every day, I can do like 40 minutes 6 days a week instead of an hour workout, and
right.
I don't know, do the
yeah.
But if I can get them to come in 3 to 5 times a week, I really try and get them to come in more days than they don't come in. So 4 days is my, like, you had a great week.
Yeah.
Okay, listen, I have people that come 6 days a week, and on the 6th day, I'm like, you did too much.
Go home.
Let your body recover and
yeah.
Recuperate from all the work that you've done. And that's, another self-medicating discussion that we can have.
Mm-hmm.
But for the average person, that discipline, listen, just like you don't always feel like jumping in the shower in the morning to get ready for work, but you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you don't always feel like, you know what, I don't have 10 minutes to brush and floss and go through my morning routine, but you do it.
Mm-hmm. Make this part of it, yeah.
And keeping your body healthy,
mm-hmm.
you have to commit the same amount of discipline to that.
I think that discipline versus motivation sentence that you just said is one of my favorite things I've been told on this podcast before, because I never framed it in that kind of connotation, because I think I lack discipline across like many mm-hmm. aspects of my life. Mm-hmm. I'm getting better. Like no exaggeration, creative Sagittarius, whatever you want to call it. I'd never make my bed. Mm-hmm. Ever. Literally never. I'm now like 11 or 12 days in a row I've made my bed every morning. And I'm like, That's discipline. That has nothing to do with whether I want to do it or not, because I never wanted to do it. It's discipline. How would you, as a trainer, help build someone's ability to increase their discipline in their daily life?
In their daily life, I equate everything to the gym,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you don't get stronger in a day, in a week, just like you don't get richer in one paycheck
Right.
or one investment. It takes that discipline of being consistent with what you're doing, with eating right, with working out, with whatever your thing is, whether it's going to a church or a temple, whatever your religious practice is, or if it's meditating, whatever it needs to be,
Mm-hmm.
needs to be done consistently if you're going to reap the benefits of it.
Okay.
And that could be being a better parent,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or being better in a relationship with a sibling or a friend. Like I had a friend that I spoke to on the way here. We haven't spoken in a year, but he reached out about a week ago, and I didn't have time to catch up then. And I said, I suck. You suck too, but we need to put it on the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we did. We both put it on the calendar, and I spoke to him for a half hour on the way here. And it rejuvenated me as a person
Mm-hmm.
because I just got to catch up with someone that I've known since I'm a child,
Yeah.
you know, and I think it was the discipline of let's make this a consistent habit.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that that's what I need to do, that allowed me to feel good from the conversation.
Yeah.
And we
I like
scheduled another phone call. And it's a shame that our lives are so crazy and busy that we have to schedule a phone call.
that. Yeah.
But
Hey, listen.
that's what we needed to do. And now we both have a sense of accomplishment that we actually got a chance to catch up.
I like that. I mean, listen, you know, as a person who's all my friends are fathers and they've got kids and they've got wives and they've got jobs, we have to schedule time to see each other and be a part of each other's lives, because between this practice and this game and this play and this whatever, you can lose things that are important to you.
Yes.
There's two things that happened to me as I think I've gotten older. Like, I've softened a lot as a human. Like, I think I don't know how much of an asshole I used to be, but like, you know, I was like a schmuck. Like when I was
we all go through our asshole stage. Some of us never leave it, but
I call it like the ignorance of youth. Like I thought I knew everything, and then you know life humbles you. Two of my favorite things about me as I've gotten older is my softness as I've gotten older, and my desire to maintain strong relationships with my friends and family. Because like I think when you go through a big shift in your life, you lose jobs, you lose relationships, you lose things.
You lose yourself.
You lose yourself. Mm-hmm. And then what brings you back to the person you are? It's your friends and your family. And then when you think about the amount of time that you get to spend with them, it's not a lot. And to me, I could pick up and move to California tomorrow, but to me, I think my life lived in proximity and closeness to my friends and family that make up my life for what it is.
Is your life.
Is my life. Right.
Agreed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Agreed. So back to discipline, we have to make a conscious effort, right, to do those things. And it does require effort.
Yeah.
And the same thing is implemented in the gym, right? It requires effort. And I feel like learning consistency in the gym translates to every aspect of your life.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you see, and one practice, and I tell all of my new clients, take pictures of yourself. Not for me. I don't want them. I don't want to see them.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I make that very clear. But I insist that they take pictures of themselves, because when you're going through the process, you don't necessarily see the changes, right? You might not see it on the scale when you're doing strength training, especially, right? So you could theoretically lose 10 pounds of body fat, put on 7 or 8 pounds of muscle. Net, that's like 2 or 3 pounds different, which
and you're like, what the fuck
could
am
be from morning till night.
Yeah.
But your clothing fits differently. You look different in the mirror, but to yourself, it's like watching your hair grow. Not that my hair grows these days, but anyway, you don't see your hair grow. You just know that like every couple of weeks,
I get a haircut,
and get a haircut,
right?
Right? It's the same thing with being in the gym. You're making progress. You don't necessarily see it. So by taking that picture and then a month later, taking another picture and comparing them and going, wow, I do see a little difference. And then a few months down the road, you can really start to appreciate how far you've come, even if every day you don't feel it.
Yeah.
So when you talk about practices that I would implement in the gym, that would be a big one. Those pictures are really important. And some people take the pictures too far.
Yeah.
You've seen some of our Instagram models.
Yeah.
But listen, to each their own. And the funny part about Instagram models is what you see is so completely different than what you get.
Yeah.
They are the hardest working.
Yeah.
And some of the most humble people that you will ever meet.
Yeah, well, they don't show the hard work. They show the results.
Correct.
Because unfortunately, nobody cares about the hard work. They care about the results. But that is a psychological conversation for another day.
I feel like we need a third. If we have a therapist sitting here.
Yeah. Well, no, this is therapy. I am your therapist right now, just so you know.
Okay.
Yeah. That's why you're paying me to be
I
here.
am yours.
I'm curious. So I like obviously discipline is a huge aspect to your life and people who work with you. I've equated a lot of my success to like confidence in myself. Mm-hmm. And even as a person who's, I think, creating the best work I've ever had, making the best pictures I've ever made, there's still that aspect of imposter syndrome.
Sure.
I would imagine you deal with people's confidence or lack thereof pretty frequently. How do you deal with someone who comes to you either from a very confident or a non-confident place?
I think the biggest thing that I can do is keep it gym related,
mm-hmm.
right? And again, like the picture and like they don't realize how far they've come. I have people who come in and they can't do a push-up. And then I could tell their confidence is down, their shoulders are slumped. And I'm like, what's the matter? And they're like, I feel like I'm just spinning my wheels here.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you spinning your wheels? You came to me, you couldn't do a push-up. Now you can do 8 push-ups.
Mm-hmm.
And me mentally being able to keep track of, you started with 5-pound dumbbells or 10-pound dumbbells. Now you're using 25-pound dumbbells. They don't understand how huge that is.
Yeah.
And when I'm able to remind them of that, their entire demeanor can change.
Yeah. It's like, here's the evidence of what you've accomplished.
Yes.
I know you forgot.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Because I just equate it to like, whereas my journey is not physical, it's, skill based. Mm-hmm. The parallels are very similar. So it's easy to see where like as a creative and as a skill-based job, I can plateau and I can stagnate. And you would have similar experiences in the gym. You'd be like, oh, well, what am I doing? I'm taking the same photos again. Mm-hmm. I'm lifting the same weights again. And that ability to like sort of reframe the context is like, well, here's where I was and here's where I am now.
I'm glad that you said that, right? Because progress is not completely linear.
Sure, yeah.
You will plateau. Mm-hmm. You will be humbled in the gym. There is one thing that I can guarantee in the gym. You will be humbled. There will always be a weight that you can't lift, a time that you can't beat. Listen, I don't care if people come to Dream Fitness of Englewood or any other personal trainer. That's when having a coach, when you've actually reached a plateau. I'm not talking about just being down on yourself because the scale is you're still a little bit overweight. I'm talking about
like an actual physical plateau. Yeah.
You've achieved a level of fitness that most people would be jealous of, and you reach a plateau. That's when being able to rely on a coach or a personal trainer to get you to that next level, to see the little things that you might be doing wrong. And again, this also translates to every aspect of life, right? Mm-hmm. So you've accumulated a certain number in your bank account, right? Well, you may not go any further without a financial advisor, right? Or you may have done well in your business, but without a coach or a mentor to get you to that next level, you may not achieve anything else. And you may actually start to go backwards.
Yeah.
Because if you're not growing, chances are there's going to be
A slippage,
some
yeah.
attrition,
Yeah.
right? There's, clients move away, maybe your client, they outgrew you, or vice versa. Maybe their business failed and they're no longer a client. So you always have to be growing.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's a time thing or an age thing, but like self-awareness and like owning your own, knowing your own limitations are crucial. And if you are incapable of understanding those, having someone else to rely on is crucial.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I work out 6 days a week. I've had to reel myself in and remind myself that you're 54. Let your body recover. What used to be chasing a number on a certain lift has now become, let's just stick with this number and see if we can accumulate more repetitions with that number. Or let's see if we can go through an entire week without a shoulder being sore or an elbow letting me know, like, you know what, you did a little too much. So yes, self-awareness.
I'm glad you brought that up. So like, as a person who's obviously experienced a multi-decades long fitness journey of their own, how do you constantly reshape your own, like, is it those little tweaks like, oh, my shoulder's sore, I need to do this? How do you like reassess on a weekly, monthly, yearly basis into like what
I think goal setting is really important. And I think being self-aware, but also seasoning things, meaning, there's going to be a season when maybe you want to lean out, and there's going to be a season when you want to get stronger, and there's a season that you'll want to have like some more athletic performance, and there's a season when you're like, you know what, let's work on flexibility and mobility, and being able to take the year and break it into 4 or 6 or 8 seasons rather than always doing the same thing, which most youth just think, let me just keep getting bigger and stronger. And most females, unfortunately, think, let me just keep getting leaner, or it's
fitter,
yes, more toned. It's really important to have those seasons because your body will adapt to whatever you're doing. And that's one way that we will help a client break through plateaus, is reminding them it's time for a different phase.
That is such an appropriate tie into like seasons of life. Like, I feel like you go through ebbs and flows, like successes and failures. And it's like understanding where you're at in your own personal journey, whether it's with fitness, whether it's with work, whether it's with family, friends, whatever. And like being able to reassess yourself and like where you're at, and then like figuring out the next step, the next part of the journey. Like it's my superpower is self-realization and self-assessment, figuring out where I am, why I feel the way I do, like all those things. It's easy to learn. It takes time, but it's easy to learn. And I think once you be able to like really look at yourself in the mirror and figure out like what's working, what's not, you can, that's like a real superpower for like just having a very happy existence.
I agree completely. You have to have your mind open enough in order to learn.
Totally agree. Eric, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast today. I really appreciate you coming down to the studio and doing this. I have a very cheesy line. If you've been on my podcast, you're part of my family. And thank you so much for spending the time with me today.
My pleasure. One thing I'm going to add.
Yeah.
We're going to do this again.
Yes, 1 year.
And we're going to have a question and answer, because what I have found in fitness is if you have someone to ask, and this is fitness and health in general, if you have someone to ask that can give you an educated answer, okay? And I know this is the wrong advice podcast.
It's a pun.
You get so much of the wrong advice from either non-professionals or
fake professionals.
Google things, unless you're very specific and you know what you're looking for, you can go off in a completely wrong direction.
Oh, yeah.
So whether we take questions beforehand.
Oh, I've already
something
got.
like that.
Yeah, we'll do it anonymous. We'll do Q&A so people don't have to like feel worried that their name's tied
Perfect,
to it.
exactly.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I really look forward to that. We'll do that for sure for the next time. And thanks for coming out, man. It's been
My
an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, take care.